Seconds to go live, and we're live now, I think. Let me check the thing. Are we live?
4, 3. Remember, like in Wayne's World, they had to go, like, they weren't allowed to say 2 or 1. They're like, why? You just don't.
You just...
So 5, 4, 3.
Man, that movie is so fantastic. All right, great. You look fantastic, actually, and I look good. So
You always
the stream
look fantastic.
Well, I'm just talking about video quality, not about how my face actually looks. So, hello, Nate. How are you?
Hello, Daniel. How are you?
It's episode 63 of Getting Felt Up, a puppetry podcast with Dan and Nate and friends.
We're back in the saddle again.
Yep. And we're going to be talking about some really fun stuff. I apologize that I'm not actually looking at the camera for 2 seconds, but I am tweeting some stuff so that people can come hang out with us. If you haven't caught any of our live streams, we're going to try our best now to start doing them on Monday evenings at various times, preferably around 8 o'clock, but that's, because that's after when my kids go to bed.
Eastern Standard Time. That's the plan.
Yeah, that's because that's when my kids usually go to bed. Nate doesn't have any kids.
Very kids, they just sit on the bed and watch creepily.
Yeah. So what's been going on with you, Nate?
Dude, just living the life, working, super busy, doing a lot of puppet stuff and voice stuff, keeping quite busy. But I hear tell that you went on a nice little field trip that we're going to talk about today. I
did, yes. I went to a very, very awesome... Well, I had to travel to Atlanta for work, for my main job. And when I was down there in Atlanta, I haven't been to... Do you remember when we went to the Center for Puppetry Arts? Do you remember about when we went?
Easily, it was 2012.
Is it 2012?
It has to be 2012 because we were on tour together. That's when, because you actually just posted, it was a year ago. No, excuse me, 5 years ago yesterday that we were live at Hollywood Babylon.
Yes, so it had to have been 5 years ago.
So it was, and that was February 2012. I feel like we were there in January? We were there before we went to California?
Yeah, I think so. But I think we went back. We were there twice. We did like a big circle. So like the first half of the tour we went and the second half of the tour we went, because I remember we saw Rudolph. It was November.
Okay, so there you go. Yeah, it was right before right before there it is.
Rudolph. Right before Rudolph opened, and so we saw like the last tech preview or something like that. And then we went back and in like the spring saw like this crazy alien show, which was just absurdly crazy, but I loved it. And,
yeah, the
Blacklight space show. Yeah,
space show. Yeah, it was awesome.
So we were hanging out at the Center for Puppetry Arts, and it's a kind of a cool place. I don't know how much of you remember it, Nate, but kind of when you walked in, there was this big open foyer that had some really cool Henson pieces, like Big Bird and stuff like that. They had
some Labyrinth pieces scattered about in there.
Some dark, but it was kind of a little small space, and they had a little side room where they had I believe they had like a Bert and Ernie. I think they maybe had Rolf. A few of the Dog City. It's called Dog City, right? I think so.
Oh yeah, they definitely did have a couple.
And a bunch of Dog City stuff. Mm-hmm. So and then you could also go off to the left and do like a tour of their like puppetry around the world exhibit, which was very, very cool, and just featured puppets from literally everywhere. I mean, just all kinds of awesome examples of puppets, from marionettes to like humongous rod puppets to...
Yeah, I remember vividly, you might remember the story because we were talking about, and we've talked about them on this show, one of my like puppet Sega Genesis back in like my junior high days when I was doing the Kids on the Block puppets, which were the puppets, and I remember vividly we were telling this story to people, and they were like, "That's not real. That is not a real thing. That didn't happen. There's no such thing as disabled puppets that went to elementary schools to teach kids about it." Like, and it was like there was a blind kid, and I remember the 2 scenes I did: the blind kid, Ronaldo, and then Mark, I think his name was the kid with CP, and he had the wheelchair and the helmet and everything. And the people didn't believe, and then sure enough, in the Center for Puppetry Arts,
right there,
bless their souls, right in the giant glass, creepy room filled with all the puppets. There they were. Boom.
There they were.
Kids on the Block puppets, and I remember feeling so vindicated. It's like, yeah, they are. They're just as creepy as I remember.
Yeah, they're just there. But and then at the end of the tour, I remember in like one of the final rooms they had like a Skeksis from Dark Crystal, which was very, very cool. But but recently they like gutted the place and like totally revamped it, and to like it's like a whole new. It's gorgeous. It's a whole new world. It's a whole new world. It's really, really, really awesome. So now when you walk in, there's that big open foyer, and it's like kind of like a waiting area to get into the museum, and the museum's split off into two sections. So that little room that previously was the little Henson exhibit with like Ralph and Bert and Ernie and stuff like that is now like a room dedicated to the Dark Crystal, to Labyrinth. They like
I remember seeing we follow the Center. If you guys don't follow the Center for Puppetry Arts on Twitter and or Instagram and stuff like that, they had a big release party. I guess it was this past November-ish.
Yeah, it was just a few months ago.
When they unveiled their big Labyrinth exhibit, which I think carries on until September of 2017.
Oh, I didn't know it had shelf life, but
I think that's what they said. I could be wrong. Don't
because it's like super like well done permanent installation. Like they turn this little. Right. I mean, it's not like this. It's not super elaborate, but it doesn't have to be. But once you go inside, you're like inside the maze, and like all the walls are done like stone, and it's kind of like just a big circle.
Does the worm pop out at you and like?
No, but they have both the original miniature worm that they used on set,
the little like armatured one,
and then they have the full size worm that they use for close-ups. It's like it's certainly decaying and it's falling apart and stuff like that, but they had the worms there.
Do they so when you see them then do they have little plaques about describing what it is?
And they've got videos running from like documentaries and behind the scenes stuff. They have a ton of goblins. I mean, it's primarily like a goblin exhibit. I mean, there are just so many different goblin pieces there, and it's incredible because you've watched this movie so many times, and then they're like the goblins are right there in front of your face, and you get to like
they're right there.
They're like right there.
They're hoping you'll see the words.
Yeah, and they have a couple of the toys from her bedroom, of like the Ludo toy and that kind of stuff.
Oh, right on, like one of the Fire Gang dolls.
Yeah, one of the Fire Gang dolls. They have
that movie. So many spoilers right there in the beginning.
Yeah,
it literally spoils the whole movie for you. Really
but no one ever
foreshadowing like crazy.
You always have to tell someone. Do you ever notice all the stuff in a room?
And you have to go.
Oh my goodness, I never knew that. It's like just pay attention a little more next time. But then they also have the trash lady. Like they have the front half of the puppet, and then like
they like the original trash lady.
Yeah, the trash lady. And
is there only one? Do you know that they only make like the one?
I don't know. It's just such a short, tiny bit in the movie. I don't see why they would make more than one. I doubt they would make more than one. Then they have a life cast. They have the head cast of Hoggle, like the latex was cast off of. So it's just like this big white cast of like the sculpt of Hoggle.
Do they even mention the fact of like the Hoggle? Do they even bring up that story with the the missing Hoggle?
No, they don't.
Found.
Oh my goodness! Side story. Side story. I was recently hanging out with past and future guests, Haley Jenkins, Michael Latini from the Monkey Boys, and Michael Schupak, and I introduced Michael Schupak to the doll maker's Hoggle because he had never heard of it before. He didn't know about it before, and I was like, "How do you not know about this?"
That sounds like a Harry Potter novel, like a creepy, like Harry Potter and the doll maker's Hoggle.
Yeah,
like a really creepy short story.
And he was horrified, as you should be. I mean, that's exactly what you should be when you see that atrocity. But
I think we've talked about it and shown pictures.
Yeah, we've talked about it
on a past episode.
Yeah, we have. I think it was the petrifying.
It was probably like when it got like shortly after it got unearthed.
Well, no, that was a while ago.
Oh, that was a while ago. Okay,
it happened a while ago. So I think it happened like in the early days of the internet. You can tell by the website that it's all hosted on. And then they have a bunch of costume pieces from the ball. The ball scene. Cool. Including this beautiful, awesome. It's probably on the Blu-ray or DVD of Labyrinth that I just haven't picked up, like that new box set. But they have like all this behind the scenes of
the Jim Henson
talking about the ballroom and like how they're like they put it together. How she's like a young girl and she knows she shouldn't be there, but she's like entranced by it, and like all these rehearsals and stuff like that, which is very, very cool. They had screen used, and I'm going to call shenanigans on this, maybe just a tiny bit, but they had screen used balls. The crystal balls.
Whoa.
The Michael.
Okay. I was like, where are we going with this? It's only 8:30.
And they're like, these are the screen used balls. And I'm like, they just look like acrylic balls. I mean, they're like in pristine shape. There's like, they're not barely scuffed. They're like,
so we're talking about, we're referring to the Jareth's Michael motioned contact juggled balls.
Yeah, the Michael motion balls, which I told Michael Schupak and Michael Latini all about the fact that Penn Jillette is the reason why Michael motion.
The Penn Jillette story,
which blew both of their minds. But anyway, so like they have like two like gloved hands like holding them behind. I'm like, they just got some
how
balls.
pristine those balls are.
Way too pristine.
Way too shiny. Those balls.
Too shiny. And then they had a bunch of other like weapons, like the Goblin City weapons, and some of the armor pieces. They had this really amazing set of goblins that they called Loch Ness. And so you have to you have to Google it or something like that to see the visual of it. But when you look at the goblins, he's got like a spear, and it's got like a dragon head on the end of it. And then his helmet's really rounded. And then it's two dudes, and then the other goblin, he's got like a big rounded head piece, and he's holding like a spear that has like a wicked like curly whipped tail
so
on
it forms like Nessie.
Well, so when they're running through the hedges of the maze, and you can only see the tops of them, it looks like Loch Ness, the Loch Ness monster bouncing around, like the profile of the Loch Ness. It was like, that's amazing. I never noticed that they did that. It was so incredibly clever. I don't remember seeing it in the movie, but I'm just looking at this.
Yeah, because the only thing I can think of right off the top of my head that was always over the hedge was the little guys, the little creatures that they had on the sticks that were like,
yeah. So which was fun. So it was really great. So it's a tiny little exhibit. It's not particularly robust and full of all kinds.
Do they have his chair? They have
a chair
or throne.
They have Bowie's throne out in the lobby. Actually, you can take a picture with it.
Oh, okay.
So they have it out there as like a centerpiece for you to sit. I took a picture or two on it, and it was pretty cool. It's right by the gift shop.
Did you sit with your leg Bowie draped over the side?
No, I didn't do that. I'm way too heavy. I was afraid I was going to break something.
So I'm so disappointed.
I'll be back there next year. Hopefully they'll still have the chair out at least, but who knows? Probably not. But and it was just phenomenal. The whole the mini exhibit that they had, and then I forgot to mention in the lobby of the building, there used to be two giant Pinocchio legs that I remember distinctly, but now that they've revamped it and got it, they have like kind of like a little like display booth, and in the display booth they have one of the Warhorse puppets from Broadway.
Right on for Handspring Productions.
Yeah, the black horse. I can't remember the names of the horses, but it wasn't the good horse, the brown horse. It was like the black like rival horse. I don't know, but it was very, very cool.
Did you ever see that show?
Yeah, I saw it, and then my good buddy growing up, Ben, his roommate was the puppeteer for the lead horse.
Right on.
Was like the head puppeteer.
I never saw the Spielberg movie, but I saw the stage show.
I didn't see
and weeped openly. Like
it's
one of those like I'm weeping at a puppet horse that's not even like fully conceived. It's like
they did a beautiful job. They did a beautiful job.
Oh, it's gorgeous. That's a stunning show. But that's cool. There's the full thing, because I know there was a few, because they had like horses. They're like half horses too, with guys riding on them.
It was the rival horse. It was the big black rival horse. But I just forget what it was called.
I can't think of it right now either.
And then just to touch on it before we talk about the Jim Henson exhibit, in the like the main puppets, the Puppetry Around the World exhibit, they had Scar and Mufasa's head from Lion King. Those puppets, like the puppet head pieces that were active. And if you haven't seen it, you should go check out tested.com. They did a recent behind the scenes with the puppet master of.
It did. I think we shared it on our Facebook page too. Yeah. It was really cool how they basically equated that Broadway show to an actual, like, to athletes, like professional athletes, and they rated them and everything that they have to do.
Yeah.
Focused on my boy that does Zazu, and then the young lady that does the cheetah, and like all her body moves that she has to do. It was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing that they had, which I thought was really awesome, is they had kind of like a little Leica booth. So they had the kitchen. Awesome. They had the
Yeah.
kitchen set from Coraline.
Nice.
With other mother and other father with the buttons in their eyes. And then they had
that
like,
movie's creepy.
The movie's very creepy. But they had the,
But in the best way possible.
Yeah. So they had a really cool little booth, and they had the Corpse Bride and the two leads from the Corpse Bride.
Did Leica do the Corpse Bride too?
I have no idea. I believe so, but I have no idea.
Another stop motion company.
I really don't know off the top of my head. I'm sure someone will yell at us. And then they had a Gumby and Pokey there too.
Whoa, really? Like an OG cool. Gumby and Pokey?
It looked like it. It looked to me like it was an OG.
Wasn't
Gumby
as shiny as those balls. They look like they'd been manhandled.
They had been manhandled a bit. Yeah. Although who knows? Maybe it wasn't, because maybe that clay just doesn't hold up. If it's like it was. Was it even really clay? Here's my other question. When taking it back to like the things that they were showing, the goblins and things, and the worm, and it's falling apart. Did they ever on any of these little informational plaques did they say what the materials were used to make these things, or I don't remember off the top
delve into any of that?
I really don't remember.
Okay, because that would lead into my question of Gumby and Pokey, if it was actually clay or was it some sort of different synthetic material? Because claymation is not really clay,
Sure.
Is not, they don't use clay.
But it's like a polymer clay. It's like a plasticky clay that holds its shape very well. I mean, that's how they did Gumby. They didn't like rapid prototype all the faces of Gumby like for I don't know what the box trolls and all those other or Kubo and the Two Strings. So
which is a beautiful movie.
I you know what, I have yet to see it. I'm holding off. I wanted to watch it with my kid when it came out on Blu-ray, and I think it is out on Blu-ray now. So I've got it down. I've got to get it in a nice high def. Because I wasn't sure if she would handle it very well, because I know that's got some interesting parts, but now she's older. So, but anyway, so then they had the Jim Henson exhibit, which just was phenomenal. It stepped it up, and
the pièce de résistance, as it were, for
it really
center.
Was. And because previously it was kind of like a mishmash in just a big area. There wasn't really much of a theme to it. It was just, here's a bunch of stuff.
Right. It kind of had a decent through line, but I remember it was very petite, that little section, the Henson section. But it did have it had some sort of storyline kind of through it, at least a timeline. But yeah, so tell me about it. It's much larger. It's like a whole. Yeah.
So what I did was I went through it like 3 or 4 times, and one of the times I walked through, I took just a video of it. I just took my camera and just took a video. Then the second time, or one of the other times I went through it, I went through in 360. So I took my 360 camera and did a walkthrough of the whole exhibit and the Labyrinth exhibit. So we'll share some links on it soon. So take a peek and keep an eye out on our Facebook page, because you'll be able to watch and walk through the whole exhibit with like a pair of Google goggles, or
put it up on our YouTube page, or either your Disney Dan YouTube page.
It'll be on Disney Dan's YouTube page, but we'll share it on the Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. And so if you have a pair of Google cardboard goggles, or you can just take your phone and either move around with it or scroll through it, or you can do it on the desktop. But you'll be able to check it out. So they had, and I'll just kind of briefly go through it, but they had a room that kind of replicated Jim Henson's office, which is very cool.
Nice.
And so then they had like a little spot about Sam and Friends. They had like a TV playing Sam and Friends stuff, and they had some of those original old OG Henson creations. And then they had if you continue to move through, they had like a workshop area, and it very much reminded me of when I visited the Sesame Workshop, like with all the workbenches, and they just had drawers. They had drawers you could actually open up and interact with, and like open up a drawer full of eyeballs and open up a drawer full of like noses.
That's one of the most fun things about the workshop, is just like, here's the drawer, multiple drawers of eyes and noses.
Here's the drawers of noses and eyebrows and teeth and tongues. It was very, very, very rad. In the middle of the room, they had the storyteller dog, like in an acrylic case with all of the electronics. You could really see that it required like 6 people to operate the dog. I mean,
how big was it? Was he
this full size of a full-grown dog? I mean, it was
like life-size dog. I guess it was. He was sitting right next to John Hurt, R.I.P.
Yeah.
The beloved storyteller.
And they just had. I mean, it's impossible for me to really. I mean, I guess I could, but there's so many puppets in display cases all throughout the whole exhibit. They had the huge camel. the huge like Sesame Street camel puppet, like in one of these acrylic cases. They just had so much, and like a bunch of like random little puppets. Like they had like a robot from one of his shorts and stuff. I mean, I didn't even recognize some of them because there's just so many. There's just so much he's done. You know what I mean? It's just impossible to keep up with all of it. But then the next room you moved into was the Sesame Street room, and in that room they had Bert and Ernie. They had and it looked like
you posted a nice 360 view of that Sesame Street room.
And then I've got a few more like still 360 photos to post. They had a Bert and Ernie, and it reminded me of the Bert and Ernie from the museum that you walked through with Ryan, because they were holding he was holding his board full of buttons and stuff. So it might literally be those two.
I wonder if, because I'm trying to remember, I saw that because they're full bodied, right? They have legs.
They're armatured, and Bert's holding his button of. He's holding his button of board. Well, you had pictures of it. I saw them.
Yeah, I think, but I think they did get a lot of that because that was a temporary exhibit that was at the Lincoln Center Library in New York City. Yeah. That's right. That we did we got the guided tour from Ryan about that. So it very possibly could be the same one with the same Big Bird.
Yeah, and then they had Big Bird in his display case. That was one of the props. That was one of the puppets they had previously in the exhibit.
Oh, okay, they had him already.
I remember that very, very distinctly because it was right when you walked in. There was Big Bird, and then they had like the little bird, like the little version, the little tiny handheld bird.
Who we were looking at the video. What was that little bird's name?
I think on the placard. I think it literally said Big Bird and Little Bird.
Oh, it was just Little Bird. Okay,
that's what it said on the placard. Like, here's Big Bird, here's Little Bird. So I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know.
It makes sense. Makes perfect sense to me.
Who knows? And they also had a nice display case with like Cookie Monster, the Count, Elmo, Grover, and they were all kind of like posed very cool on all these numbers.
Right,
all the
peeking behind the numbers and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was awesome. If you visit our Facebook page at Getting Felt Up, the Puppetry Podcast, just search for that. If you don't already listen or subscribe or like or follow, whatever
you don't already, how dare you? Number one.
Yeah, not how dare you. And number two, go check out that 360. I'll be posting a few more from some of the other rooms I took.
So you're gonna post. You got 360 stills, and then you have 360 walkthrough videos and stuff like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's awesome.
I got a fun little tripod that I was experimenting with. It like folds up to like the size of like my fist, but when you can open it up, it's like a 3-way tripod. You can just kind of manipulate it in all different ways. And so
nice.
I was just sticking it like the whole exhibit was empty because I went like on a Wednesday at like 1:00. I showed up and there were like 5 school buses full of kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of waited in the parking lot for them all the buses to drive away. And then once they all drove away, I went in there and I was the only person in the whole building. So I just kind of took my time.
You didn't contact anybody. You just kind of just went.
I reached out to us. I reached out, but it was like it was so short notice. I wasn't going to like pressure anybody, and so I just went and had a good time. And I talked to a few people there. It's not like I was a troll or anything like that. But I reached out to a few people to like talk to a few people, and nothing really panned out. So I was like, I'll just still go check it out. The next room was so cool because they had a Sesame Street-esque set. Like a puppetry set, like a raised couch, and then they had like a raised wall with a raised doorway, and they had a bunch of puppets you could play with. It was clear that they did like little like school, events and stuff in this room when they did tours. It was like kind of like
a little mock race sets for people to come in and like practice on, or even like just.
Well, no, there's nothing like professional, but it was just like a.
No, but was it enough to like?
It was like a please touch
go
exhibit. Yeah, yeah. You could go on it, and they had like a stationary camera there that showed monitors all around you, so you could see what you were doing. It was a very very cool little setup. They even had the other thing they had was a dolly. They had like a puppet dolly, like the 4 wheels with the monitor between your legs as you lay down, and that's how you could move quickly with the puppet on your hand, which was very cool. They had an example of that. They had a couple of the Jim Henson Barnyard. I didn't recall that special, but they had a couple of those puppets. And then they had that big purple dude. I can never remember his name, but he's got like 1 tooth, and he's like taller than Big Bird, not big, almost as tall as Thog, and but he's purple and he's mean looking. And
on Sesame Street?
I don't know if he was on Sesame Street. Maybe in the Muppet Show. I couldn't.
Was it in the Sesame exhibit, or is this in a total separate room?
This was outside of the Sesame room. This was like in the. It was just randomly stuck in this like studio room, kind of like to
Look
show him
up
off.
Giant purple Muppet.
Yeah, giant purple Muppet. He had like he had a really simple name, but I can't remember it off the top of my head.
He only had one tooth.
Yeah, only one tooth,
He'll
and
probably
it
find it
was
better than me.
very, very scary. I don't remember what. I'll look here real quick. Like I said, he was kind of built like Thog, but he wasn't Thog. He was much scarier than Thog, but I mean in a Muppety kind of way. I'm not sure. Anyway, so that was very rad. So after that, then we went into the Muppet. There was a Muppet Show room, and it had
nice.
Like it had just
everything one could want.
Everything one could want
in
like
a Muppet Show.
Right in the middle of the room was Kermit in a display case, like sitting on a director's chair. Just
cool.
Looking awesome. I think that was the Kermit they had previously in their little like offshoot room. But then they had Muppets Treasure Island. They had like the goat and the crab sidekicks of Tim Curry. They had those little puppets.
Yeah,
they had Dr. Teeth and Fozzie and Miss Piggy and just everyone you could think of. They were all in this room. It was just such a great room to slowly walk around and check out and get a peek at all of the Muppets up close. They were just all there. It was very, very cool.
Are they playing like ambient sound, like
there's
room, like
monitors.
Show,
there's monitors everywhere
like
playing
like a trailer tape type thing, or
no, it's not. They had TVs everywhere playing little video clips of
Gotcha.
things. You know what I mean? Like
like
they had Ethel Merman singing her big number playing in the Muppet Show room. You know what I mean? So pretty much on a loop, which was cool. Then in the next room over, it was kind of like a mishmash of like awesome Henson creations from like Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. They had Emmett Otter's boat, and then
nice.
a few of the puppets. Then they had like a Fraggle section. They had a whole like collage of doozers climbing on their little scaffolding and stuff. They had a full row of all the of a whole bunch of like random like Fraggles. And then of course like the main four Fraggles, Red, Boober, Gobo, and then the other side of the room was Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, kind of split up. So they had like the
facing each other, like opposing sides.
No, they're actually kind of back to back. But
okay.
They had Jen. They had oh
Kira.
Man, why can't I? No, they didn't have Kira. They had
Fizzgig.
They had a Fizzgig there, and they had this beautiful like model shooting set that was like scaled down of the crystal chamber with all of the pieces in it, and it was like all lit. It looked like it was like a miniature for shooting. I'm not sure if it was
like a wide shot.
A wide shot miniature,
like miniatures and matte paintings and that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure it's exactly what it was, with like a little bit of stop motion, just for those really, really wide shots, because that chamber was massive and pretty huge. Then they had, man, what is her name? They had Agra. They had the full Agra puppet there, and it was horrifying up close. I mean, it's because Frank Oz did Agra, right? Yeah, and so
he performed it, and you can see there's like great behind the scenes because they overdubbed him with an actress doing the voice, but he did the voice on set. When you watch that behind the scenes of him doing Agra, it's pretty tremendous.
So like that kind of stuff has warmed my heart to Agra, but then when you see her like in person, just dead, like sitting in a display case, you know what I mean? It's like
mouth hanging open, her one eye, like
her one eye, like, and they're like one like cataract over eye and stuff.
Her huge saggy boobs.
Horrifying. So just absolutely horrifying. Just really horrifying.
Because he wore her. She was like basically like a walk around, like a full character.
Yeah. Well, kind of like the equivalent of like Magellan, maybe from Eureka's Castle.
Okay, or like a half.
She was she was like a half puppet. Yeah, she didn't have legs. Well, she might have had legs, but they were just dangling there, I think. It was kind of like a big dress kind of thing that they were up inside of. But she's huge. She's a very large puppet. I mean, there's no hiding that. But she's just horrifying. She's just absolutely terrifying at the same time. I forgot to mention in the Fraggle section they had Sprocket too, which was so cool to see. Sprocket.
Oh, nice.
Close. They had the Sprocket pup.
I want to see Sprocket right next to the Storyteller dog.
Yeah, they're actually very similar. They are practically cousins.
I remember being a kid. I was like, is that the same dog? Because they're similar, different but same.
Yeah, different, but the Storyteller dog is like very realistic, and it's like the Sprocket is a it's like a character.
Yeah,
of
I guess the
storyteller
storyteller dog has like almost human eyes. Doesn't he have
Yeah.
almost like human eyes?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a very realistic dog. I mean, they weren't messing around with that. So, and so then they also had those big beetles. They had one of those big beetles.
Oh yeah, the Gartham. The Gartham.
Yeah, which was pretty great to see up close, because that thing, I just was looking at it, I was like, man, someone sculpted him, like did all these pieces, and it's horrifying but awesome. They're scary kind of creations, these big monsters that they made. But they're very, very cool. And I say all this to say that I'm posting both the 360 video and just the slow walkthrough. The slow walkthrough is like 15 minutes because I like went up close to every piece, and then the 360 walkthrough is only like 4 minutes.
That's awesome.
So.
It worked out so well that you were basically there by yourself, so you could do that without really.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I knew that somebody was watching me on a camera. I'd like to make sure I wasn't.
Now, I remember when we were there in 2012 that there was rumors that they had like a mystic.
Well, yeah. Well, I'll say that the Skeksis is gone. I don't know where it is because it wasn't on display. It was put away.
And then do they have a mystic?
They have a mystic too, but the mystic apparently is toasted. It's just dead. I mean, it's just
completely
gone because it's all silicone skin. So I think they have it, but it's more or less just a bag of dust at this point. So nothing interesting.
That wouldn't look as nearly as impressive on display, just like sitting there in a Ziploc bag.
It would not.
Formerly Jen's master, the wisest of the mystics.
Now a bag of dust. So then over in the Labyrinth half, they had the two doors, the riddle doors with the red and blue, with like the dog-like creatures hanging out of the top and the bottom. In like one of us tells the truth and the other one lies.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
And then they had the fat guy door knocker. They had that one.
They just had the one knocker.
They just had the one knocker there.
It was the one that had the thing in his ears.
Yep. They also had. I'm just kind of like paging through. They had Sir Didymus there, which was very cool to see him. And he was
by himself, or was he on Ambrosius?
He was by himself. It was actually the rig that they put on the real dog. So he was sitting on his saddle
rig.
It was the saddle rig, which was very cool to see. And then they had one of this very, very complicated goblin puppets. It was like a goblin in a bomb with just his arms and legs showing, but there's like 6 controls.
Oh yeah, I remember those guys. Well, because there was. Yeah, there's like the one that gets like thrown, that gets shot into a building and his legs kick out, and then there's one that like hops around.
Yeah, exactly.
On the ground.
So, and then the final room, which was very cool, just had a couple of pieces from his like the Dog City pieces. It's called Dog. I think it's called Dog City.
Dog City, yeah, it was called Dog
City. Yeah, they had a couple of Dog City pieces and just a couple of random like glowing fish from this or that. I mean, it really wasn't anything. I'm looking. I don't even know what these. I'm looking at them right now. I'm like, I don't even know. They all have names. They all have placards, but I'm like, I don't know where these came from. Some of the stuff was from like Muppets Tonight and stuff.
Gotcha.
It was very, very cool. And then it ends with like this beautiful stained glass archway that's with Kermit on it, and a really nice quote from Jim Henson. So
nice.
All in all,
where did the stained glass archway come from?
I don't know. I think it might have been an original piece, or maybe not. I don't know. To be
somebody made for the
no idea
exhibit, perhaps.
Yeah. So all in all, very, very cool. It's like $10.
Awesome.
It was $10 to go in and walk through.
Only $10. Oh, that's like worth. I gotta just go up there.
It includes all 3 exhibits for the $10. It includes the Jim Henson exhibit. It includes the Puppets of the World, and it includes the Labyrinth exhibit. So very, very worth it. So amazing just to see all that stuff up close.
Are they doing any shows currently right now, or are they?
Yeah, they're always doing a show. They're always doing shows, and so that rotation of stuff is always going on, and it's always very. I mean, I didn't get to see the show that they were doing. I wasn't privy to what they had going on at the moment, but again, we've seen 2 of their shows, and we've loved them. So,
what's their website? Is it centerforpuppetryarts.org?
I think it's
or
puppetry.org. I think it's
super
really
easy, way easier than
super easy. I literally think it's puppetry.org.
But you can find them on Facebook. The Center for Puppetry Arts in Atlanta, Georgia. You guys
that's the Dallas.
It's a great place.
Don't go to puppetry.org. I mean, go to puppetry.org if you want, but it is not the Center for Puppetry Arts. But it's something super easy. So it's definitely check them out. And if you're in Atlanta, I mean, it should be. It amazes me how many people. I was down there for the conference, and I'm like, have you been like talking to people who live in Atlanta? I'm like, have you ever been to the center? And they're like, the what? What is that? I'm like, you
Really?
live here, and you
don't
your
know. It's been there for a long time.
It has. Your childhood is on display behind acrylic right down the street.
And they're taking such good care of it. They want to take good care of that.
Everything was so beautifully armatured, beautifully displayed. It really was. It was a really great. It was a really great exhibit. It was very well put together. It really.
Center for Puppetry Arts, puppet.org, just singular, puppet.org.
Oh, puppet.org, not puppetry.org.
Yep, just puppet.org is the website for Center.
See, I was close.
You were super close.
So definitely go there, check it out, see all the cool puppets they've got on display.
That's awesome.
The puppets from around the world had some really cool interactive exhibits and stuff. I just didn't mess around much over. I mean, I walked through it all and checked everything out. It was very cool, but I wasn't like poking around too much. They also had. I'm trying to remember what they had. One other thing in that center in the Puppetry of the World exhibit. They had the walrus and the king from when they did Alice in Wonderland on Broadway, which was these just massive marionettes. I mean, humongous marionettes. They're these big black and white puppets that are absolutely gorgeous. And then they had one other thing that I thought was cool that I took a picture of, but now I can't remember what it is. No, yeah, I talked about Mufasa and Scar and the Coralines.
That's pretty cool, and we talked about that on our Lanking episode, I think, when we had seen the show together, and then we just like we gotta just talk about it while it's fresh in our brains.
Yeah,
but those headpieces are literally like a character in themselves, and just how like the performer just hunches over, and then that head comes down to rear as the lion. It's just so awesome.
It really is really awesome. So that's my little trip.
That's awesome. Did we have anybody? Was anybody watching and > asking a question? Do we have a chat?
Yeah,
a live
we have
chat?
a handful of people watching, a couple people saying hey and what's up, if you are
we have some friends. We have some friends at a tavern watching us right now live.
Oh yeah, who are our friends at a tavern watching us live?
Some of our Disney fan base, Disney World Puppeteer fan base at a tavern watching us live.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because the Super Bowl's done.
Listening to me,
when
the
you're
Super Bowl was yesterday.
When you're at a tavern, I know the Super Bowl was yesterday.
So what does the Super Bowl have to do about them watching us?
Because
now?
when you're at a tavern, you're like usually watching the game or something like that, but they're watching us talk about puppetry while sitting at the bar.
There's so many better things they could be doing.
Or not.
So there's me. That was me rambling on about the Center for Puppetry Arts. Definitely support them if you can when you're there, and
yes,
check
and
out all
you
their
can see,
stuff.
like I said earlier, you can follow them. You can find Center for Puppetry Arts on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. They post a lot of cool stuff. Back when they opened the Labyrinth specific exhibit, they had this huge costume release party, and Brian Henson was there. He's one of the judges. They had a huge costume contest, and there was people that went all out on Fire Gang costumes and dressing as Bowie and Jennifer Connelly in the ballroom scene, and I think there was a trash lady. Somebody did a full trash lady.
It's really amazing
costume.
some of the stuff that the fans of that movie have done. So as always, thanks so much for watching. We are going to try to be live streaming every Monday night.
Monday.
Yep, Monday nights.
8 p.m. Eastern, hopefully.
So check back next week, where I believe we'll be having either we're going to be having one of our new co-hosts on, I believe. So and then we'll might also intersperse a couple random live chats.
Are we potentially going live tomorrow, just as an offshoot of our Mondays?
We might, but if we go live outside of the schedule, we'll
okay.
We'll tweet it out. We'll share it out.
Keep an eye on our page, guys. Follow us on Twitter. We might go live tomorrow. You never know. We might stray from the formula.
Yeah.
There's no rules. Hashtag no rules.
But and if you are listening to us right now on the podcast, you can head over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel and get live notifications right from YouTube on your phone or when you're online that we're live, and come hang out with us then. So
follow Dan at Disney Cheats. I remember so fondly when we started this podcast, they were like, follow Nate at natebeagle.com and at L with 3K on Twitter, and then go to danieldoesn'thaveawebsite.org. And now Daniel has websites.
Yeah, I have many websites, but none of them are Puppet related, so you don't have to go to any of them. So
well, you should, though. You should. If you're a fan of this show, you're a fan of this beautiful bearded man, go to his other sites.
That's it. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and check back soon for some more fun chats and some great guests that we're lining up.
Yeah, more regular Puppet content coming your way. 2017.
Yep, we're back with a vengeance. I mean, both of us might not be back for every episode, but we're back with a vengeance. So
yes.
Stay tuned.
Puppet content coming your way, whether you see both of us, whether you see one of us, or whether you see none of us.
Yep. So there you go.
It's going to happen.
Thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to stop the broadcast now, but it's going to take...
Wait, should we do our thing now?
Seconds.
Are we not doing our sign-off anymore?
We can do it. Go ahead, Nate.
This has been Getting Felt Up, a Puppetry podcast with Dan and Nate.
I'm Dan.
I'm Nate. And we'll
feel you up next time. Thanks
Maybe
for
2017 we'll get a new tagline.
No,
you still like it? Feel you up next time?
No one's made it this far. No one's listened this far. So what does it even matter?
Truth hurts.